It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day. Happy Saturday, everybody, here in the land of milk and honey on this 23rd day of April. Do I have that right? It's the 23rd? Pretty sure. This garden today is almost perfect. No garden is ever perfect, but almost. The only thing that could be better would be if the Brugmansia was in bloom over there. You notice anything, guys? Look whose waterfall's working. Greg replaced the pump this morning. So I have just been out here basking in it. Look at the Calandrinia spectabolus. Isn't it so pretty? And I've got this pink bougainvillea against the wall that's going off. And then the one next to it that's not. And then the Barbara Karsh, which is kind of on the end of its bloom cycle. So gosh darn it. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's close enough for me. We had some project leftover plants. And normally I would roll all the project leftovers into the next job. But because it is so fabulous out here, and I'm so inspired because everything is blooming and beautiful, I thought, how fun would it be to just tighten up this little corner in my garden? I have this Crassula undulata. Do you remember? I don't know if you guys, remember, but there's actually a little piece of garden art. It's a rusty metal flamingo. Yeah, it's a flamingo, and basically all you can see now is one little piece of it. It's all buried under there. That is so funny. Oh, here's another piece of it. I'd kind of forgotten about the flamingo, and there's another one. Oh my goodness, here is my little South African falcata, my propeller plant. Some of you have asked questions about your propeller plants when they flop over. Pull them up, cut them, and reset them if they flop over. That's what I do. Or if you don't want to do that, you can position your propeller plants like I have here, where they're propped up by things. In this case, a rusty piece of peacock. This is my Ruchia that's almost done. This was one of the first things that went off this spring, was the Ruchia, and I have it in a few areas of my garden, and I absolutely adore this plant. And then my Agavoides lipstick, which started out as just a single plant, and look at how it has just grown all through here. And I've taken off at least a dozen of these and moved them to other places in the garden, worked them into projects. It's just the plant that keeps on giving, and it is absolutely one of my all-time favorites. Here you can see on this little Agavoides, see this black on the underside of the leaf right here? Is this in the way? Well, the black on the underside of the leaves, that's sunburn. I planted these here a little late in the year, and it got a little warm, and the underside of the leaf burned. But that is simply cosmetic. These will be fine. Let's see if they've rooted. Yeah. Let me clean up the bottom leaves, and I'll show you. See those roots? So yes, it has started rooting. I'm going to just put her, well, while I've got them, clean this one up too. This one's little stem is broken, so I'm just going to take that off. And then see, there's a little pink root right there. So they're figuring it out. I think they're going to be just fine. But what this tells me about this plant is in the hotter months of the year, I would be, it would be very smart of me not to work with it as a cutting, and to protect it from the hottest part of the day to avoid more sunburn. And this was just a happy accident. You know, these just go back way under that undulata too, because clearly it's happy here. It gets kind of filtered sun all day long. But I digress. Okay, so I'm over the alyssum this year. This is a garden visitor every winter, and I love it. But as you know, those of you that grow alyssum, it gets really rangy once the weather warms up. And that's kind of what is happening now with mine, is it's getting a little rangy. So as I work on an area of the garden, or you know, when I'm weeding, if I see it, I'll just go ahead and pull it. I just do a little at a time. All right, I'm going to clear off all this rock with my multi-tool. Try to ignore all of those pine needles from the tree behind me. I'm trying to make my peace with those because they are just a way of life now. Okay. All right. There is my design space exposed. And the soil here is really great. Oh my gosh, I have so many Sonora Shiners buried under the ground here. Get some of those excavated. And these roots that I've exposed, I'm not sure what they're from. Okay. All right. Now, my assortment here of a little bit of Crassula platyphyla, some sedums, rubra tinctum, sedum rubra tinctum, pork and beans. This is Adolphi sedum. Here's a little more of that peperonium we've been working with. And this is Platyphyla Pink, which is, you know, a relative to the red. This gets real pink when it's stressed. Now, I know from experience that this sedum rubra tinctum is going to grow up higher, faster than this Crassula or these sedums. So I'm going to start with that in the back. You could plant it, you know, with the whole 1 gallon, with all that soil and roots, but who wants to dig a hole that deep? Not me. So I'm just, you know, taking all the extra off. And I'm going to stick it right there. Now, this rubra tinctum won't stay here forever. It's going to get really leggy over time, and I will get frustrated with it. I'll start taking cuttings of it for smaller arrangements, and then eventually I'll just get rid of it. But for now, and for the next probably year or two, it's going to do super right there. And that's good enough for me. All right, next, I'm going to work with the Platyphyla. And I don't want the whole thing. I just want half of it. So I'm going to break the plant apart. Remember, in these 1 gallon cans are basically just little like 2-inch plugs that have been put into a can and knitted together. So you can pull it apart in as many pieces as you want. You don't have to plant it as a 1 gallon if you don't want to. I'm going to start with just a bit. And then I'm going to add this red right here next to it. When I figured that out, it was a game on and game changing for me when I realized that I didn't have to work with a bunch of roots, and I didn't have to work with the whole plant, that I could cut it up, that I could tear it apart, that I could use pieces, because then I could start weaving things in with it more freely, kind of like what I'm going to do now. Okay, but first, let's take the little peperonia, and I'm going to put that right here. I want this one kind of close to the front because, you know, it's kind of diminutive and it's not going to do a whole heck of a lot. Then I think I will add a little more of the crassula here. There we go. Soil there. Because now I'm going to take some of these yellow sedums. I'm going to get rid of most of the soil because I want to tuck it right down in there. Oh yeah. And then bring it in, the rest of it, in down here at the front. Just makes me so happy. Okay, then these little pink sedums. I'm going to work with, this one's just a cutting, but that's okay. I'm going to work with those right here. In this, what I'm doing right now is basically how I have put my entire garden together. You know, I didn't have a master plan because when we moved into this house, which we rent, we moved in here, so I think our 13th year, Greg? Yeah, 13 years ago. For the first year or two, we just ran black plastic back and forth because it was a moonscape. It was a lawn with gopher holes and ugly shrubs and just crap, but we had no money to do anything. So we started stockpiling project materials, like leftover, this was deck wood from a client that was converting to Trex. It's redwood. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all of my structures in the garden, Greg used this wood to create. That was, you know, left over. And the flagstones are all mismatched because it's one off from this job, two from that job, just, you know, whatever is left over. And basically all of the rock, I probably have 10 or 11 different kinds of rock in this garden. Also just a bag here, a half bag there, a bucket there. I just kind of pieced it together as I went. And that is how I created my little utopia. All right, now, okay, I think I've got room over here for just a little more of the crassula. I think the only thing, well, not the only thing, but one of the only things, succulents, that I actually paid for was my attenuata variegata, my pride and joy, that I got at the California Cactus Center in Pasadena many, many years ago as just a tiny little, like, 10-inch pot. And it is just so gorgeous. Okay, so that feels really good. I hope that looks good from your perspective. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push my rock back over. And this, it's so funny because all these different kinds of rock used to be laid out in ribbons, and I was very specific about them. But over the years, as I've reinvented areas in the garden, they've all just kind of blended together. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. So I'll push this back here. Get this. My garden is watered by hand. I have sprinklers, but I've never used them, never even once. I really love hand watering, and I have a small enough yard that I can do that. So I just kind of instinctively water when I think it needs it, which varies with the time of the year too, and how much, if any, rain we've gotten. Throw that under there. I know at some point this is going to need addressed, but not today and not now. I know that I have my peacock hidden under there, but this is just too cool how this is all knitted together for me to change it. This is Aloe Dorothiae, in case you're wondering, and I need to dig this out and cut it, remove it from its roots, and reset it so I can get the fiery orange color back. It's really well rooted in there, and it's also thrown off a lot of pups, which I can harvest and spread around too, because this is probably, well, I don't know. No mother can really have a favorite now, can she? But this is absolutely one of my favorite aloes in the world, and I love it most when it's the most stressed and where the whole plant is this deep burnt orange color. So, okay, there you go. That took no time at all, but I will enjoy this little arrangement that I have made. We'll follow it together on Walkabout Wednesdays and see how it continues to knit together and thrive. I really hope that you all can get out into your gardens in this beautiful spring weather. Those of you that live in hostile climates, hopefully it'll start warming up pretty soon and you can start the migration of bringing your plants outside. Be sure and let me know in the comments, you know, if you have any questions, concerns, or fun stories to tell me about these plants, the sedums and the crassulas that we use, the agavoides, the undulatas, the dorothias. What has your experiences been with these plants? This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity, wishing you a fantastic weekend in the garden with your succulent tip of the day. Bye, guys.